keep asking me rather personal questions. I won't answer them all, but here are some things about me that you don't know, and I'm fairly sure that at least one of them will surprise you. Let's go. Number one, I used to be a massive hippie. In fact, I was quite well known as an environmental activist. I was involved in direct action, protesting coal and tar sands, well before Greta Thunberg started doing her thing. Number two, I always have this feeling that I'm behind in life because I basically lost my 20s to poor mental health. I had very, very bad anxiety, which was also treatment resistant, and it was a direct consequence of being disowned at 18 and being completely alone in the world, and it took me many years to sort myself out. Leading on from that, Xeon Lights is not my birth name, but it is my given name. I didn't pick it for myself, but I had to change it because I needed to leave that old life behind, and that meant not carrying forward the name that my parents had given me, since it reminded me of them and they had told me that I was no longer their daughter. So the hippies in my community picked this name for me, and I changed it by deed poll, and I've now had it for longer than I ever had my birth name. There is a reason for why they picked it, but that's another story. At one point, I became the world's biggest or most well-known advocate for nuclear energy. The story there is that I eventually got fed up with the hippies. Initially, they were very kind to me, they took me in, but over time I found it harder to accommodate some of their unscientific beliefs, and eventually I had to step back from those circles because of that. And because I became vocal about it, I ended up touring the world talking about nuclear. I was in the news in various countries, featured in several documentaries, and this also led to a new trend of nuclear influencers. But just so you know, I was the OG. I wrote a book about nature poems and self-published it because why not? Absolutely love nature. And the thing I most enjoyed in my time in Georgia was the wildlife. My first time seeing eagles, vultures, all kinds of brightly coloured birds and bugs. And that brings me on to why I live in a small city. I've always dreamed of living in the countryside, but to be honest, I love city life so much that I have to balance it out, and I live in this city, Exeter in Devon. It's down in the southwest. I live about 20 minutes from the beach by train, and Exeter Cathedral is home to the Exeter Book, which is an old anthology of poetry written in Old English. I need to make a separate post about that. This is the oldest photo of me that I own, and it was taken when I was in primary school. I can Bhangra dance. I have a large extended family. We went to a lot of Indian weddings when I was a child. These weddings last several days, and they're big celebrations with lots and lots of dancing. Old, young, everyone dances. And that's how I learned to Bhangra dance. No, I will not be doing it for TikTok. I have numerous tattoos, something like 28 tattoos. As I said, my 20s were kind of wild, but I don't mean to make that sound glamorous because honestly I was miserable, and genuinely I didn't expect to make it to my 30s. And two of my tattoos are quotes, one from Carl Sagan and one from Maya Angelou. Hopefully this is enough to scratch your itch in learning a bit about me. So keep asking questions about things that make you curious, especially science, and let's never stop learning.